Hi friends, I'm Captain Patricia Edwards, and I just wanted to take some time to share a little bit about myself with you. I didn't always have the kind of relationship with God that I have now. It used to be kind of like a one-way relationship with Him. He loved me, but I didn't have that faith in Him. I didn't love Him. I dare say I might have even hated Him. It's not always easy, life isn't. There are times when we may think that we can't go on anymore. We may start to question God and ask Him, "Where are you, God?" Or maybe blame Him for everything that happens in our lives, everything bad. That was the kind of one-way relationship that I had with God. So on New Year's Eve 1999, with the new millennium coming, I decided I needed to make a change in my life. I wanted better for me and my family. I was attending a party in Mattapan, right here in Massachusetts, and I had asked somebody if there was a church that was having service at New Year's. So they took me to a church right up the street, the Jubilee Church, and I found myself at midnight on my knees at the altar asking God to come help me change my life. And so began the year 2000, the new millennium. It began as an extremely dark and troublesome time for me and for my children. See, the first change that I wanted to make, leaving an unhealthy relationship, brought us to a farther away part of Massachusetts where we were all alone. We had gone for many years living in shelters, sleeping in church basements, scattered site programs. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know if me and my children were going to survive this. I had 5 children, ages 1 to 13, and 2 of them had difficult behavior issues due to the abuse that we had been through. And although I considered myself a very strong, independent woman, I used that and I said, I can get through this. I could be tough. The 13 years in an unhealthy, abusive, mostly emotional and psychologically abusive relationship, that made me stronger, I guess, but weak at the same time. And I had gone through a lot of abuse as a child, so I think you come to think we deserve that. But God knows we don't deserve it. I just wanted better for me and my children. I was determined that my children were going to have a better future. But I wasn't prepared. I just was not prepared what was going to happen. The moment that it all hit me, it was like a Mack truck going down the Mass Pike. Bam, totally out of control. The depression just grabbed onto me and it dragged me down. And every time I thought I was getting back up, it would drag me down more. I just felt like everybody hated me, hated my children. I wasn't worth living. Like I wasn't worth the oxygen. That's how bad it was. Many times I cried out to God, just take me. Take me now. I don't want to be here anymore. But God had other plans. My family and I began going to counseling. It was an awesome agency. We each had our own counselors. We were in support groups for trauma victims. We had family support. It felt like all we did was spend time with the counselors. Slowly, we began to emerge out of the darkness. I had to work extra hard to climb out, like I say. There was times I would just slip and fall so far back into the darkness, but they would grab my hand and pull me back out again. Those that worked with my family, they worked overtime. We saw them in the office, we saw them at our home, out in parks. They met us where we were, and they counseled us. They provided comfort, they held my hand, they guided me through some of the darkest times in our lives. We worked with them. We had to work through the hurts. So we had to talk about the hurts. We had to remember the hurts. We had to process the hurts because that was the only way that we could heal. I also worked with an awesome therapist named Annie. She would not give up on me. Even when I wanted to give up on myself, she would not give up on me. There were times when I would be balled up like a child crying in her chair in her office, and she would not give up on me. She held my hand through it all. She encouraged me through it all. Slowly, I began to trust again. Slowly, my children healed and began to trust again. My family and I, we not only became survivors, we became successful survivors. We learned tools that helped us get through the dark times that were still going to come in the future. And the biggest step, we made friends, got jobs. The biggest step was we found a church home. That was when we came into the Salvation Army in Worcester, where God shined again through those who loved on us, who held our hands, who guided us through the dark times. And then I think of this poster that's was hanging on my dining room wall. It had been there for many years. Somebody gave it to me. I thought it was just this cute poster, and it was the Footprints in the Sand poster. And it would be there. I didn't pay much attention to it, but one day after all the healing had happened and we had almost were at the end of our counseling, I sat and I read it. Footprints in the Sand. One night, I dreamed a dream. As I was walking along the beach with my Lord, across the dark sky flashed scenes from my life. For each scene, I noticed two sets of footprints in the sand, one belonging to me and one belonging to my Lord. After the last scene of my life flashed before me, I looked back at the footprints in the sand. I noticed that at many times along the path of my life, especially at the very lowest and saddest times, there was only one set of footprints. This really troubled me, so I asked the Lord about it. Lord, you said once I decided to follow you, you'd walk with me all the way. But I noticed that during the saddest and most troublesome times of my life, there was only one set of footprints. I don't understand why. When I needed you the most, you would leave me. He whispered, my precious child, I love you and will never leave you. Never, ever, during your trials and testings, when you saw only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you. There it was in plain sight, and I missed it. I missed that. But God never missed a beat. Through all those dark times, He brought people into our lives that held our hands, that guided us through the storms, and that carried us when we couldn't walk no more. I used to say, I felt like during that time I was being carried on the wings of angels. That was God. He was always there. He doesn't miss a beat, and He never will. He stays with us forever, and He will carry us through the darkest storms.